The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart.
Hello, and welcome to It's Your Voice, the show that hosts enriching conversations in diversity. My name is Bahia Yaksain. I'm a core alignment coach, an emotional wisdom training specialist, and a diversity educator. If you'd like to see samples of classes and trainings I coach and offer to groups and individuals that really help people recognize and step out of patterns or habits that are harmful or exclusive, and then learn to cultivate new, healthier, inclusive patterns that make everyone happier, you can go to my website, which is knowwhatyouvantcoaching.wordpress.com. I'm really excited to have another show to honor women during Women's History Month. We have two brilliant women who've created an amazing program with a third one who's not available and not here today. But I wanted to just say that the program is incredible because it's such good timing when across the country of the US, so many basic rights for women are being rolled back it's still kind of shocking and incredibly limiting women's lives. There's all kinds of reasons women need control over their bodies and their reproductive health choices. And though that's not the focus of this, their program brings so much more to women that I wish women all over the world had access to. And the title, which is suggested by the guest, is called The Fourth Trimester, Postnatal Physical and Emotional Health and Wellness. Fourth trimester. Think about it. Let me start with bringing on Lisa Harrington. She's the founder and personal trainer and instructor at Fit House. And welcome, Lisa. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. And then let's bring on Emma Shandy Anway now, who is a marriage and family therapist. And before I say more about what you women do, I want to just name Abby Harper, the third person that you guys co-created this program with, who is a licensed pelvic floor physical therapist who I was lucky enough to work with. And I wish all women all over the world could have this amazing physical therapy. Makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm. So while you guys wait for just a minute, I just want to say to the listeners and viewers that Emma, Lisa, and Abby Harper created the Fourth Trimester program by combining their individual skill sets. And as I said, Emma is a licensed therapist, Abby is a licensed pelvic floor physical therapist, and Lisa is a certified personal trainer and a group fitness coach who's awesome and has tons of followers. She's a powerhouse. They were inspired to create this program because of the lack of professional resources designed specifically for the fourth trimesters, by which they mean 6 weeks postnatal and beyond those 6 weeks, because it's quite a time after you give birth, no matter what the outcome is. So again, Emma, Lisa, and Abby are all mothers, and thank you both for being here to represent the program.
Thanks for having us.
And before we dive into the fourth trimester program, I would just love to give Lisa a minute to say, like, the Fit House is pretty unique. It's not your ordinary gym. It's not your ordinary go sign up and get a membership. Could you describe a little bit the Fit House and how it What
I
differences?
will. And I think, I'll connect it to what we're talking about now, because our last workshop we hosted at Fit House, because it is and it feels like a very inclusive space, one that we are able to put on programs like this and have women come and feel comfortable in a space. We do it in the yoga room. Fit House has multiple different rooms. We have a cycling program, a yoga program, a strength program, as I said, a power vinyasa yoga program, personal and group training. And the idea behind it is not to offer a space where people can just come and work out on their own. They're either coming to classes or they're coming to work out in groups. And the thought behind that is it builds community. And Fit House has been around for over a decade, and there's quite a community there. And since before it started, I was not a mother. And 10 years later, I'm mom to many. And I think that what I've learned through owning Fit House, and not only owning Fit House, but just being a part of it, is that how important community is in any chapter of our lives. And so I'm grateful to have it and to be working with Emma and Abby on a program that I know also builds community.
Thank you for that picture. And again, I know you have so many Instagram followers and you post so many inspiring videos and snapshots. So Emma, tell me, like, this might be obvious to you, but maybe not to the rest of us. Like, a marriage and family therapist is involved with a fitness program. Can you say what like attracted you to combine your skills with Lisa and Abby?
Well, Lisa was my personal trainer. That's actually how we met. When I was like 6 months postpartum with my son, Finn, and we connected over the fact that we share. I lost a late-term pregnancy. Lisa lost a baby. And
I'm so sorry.
kind of came out over our training sessions that, we have that kind of shared experience. And we're both really, really passionate about working with women, working with mamas in particular. And, I throw Abby in this too. We're both really aware that health is holistic, right? And when you go through a trauma, like the three of us experienced, you can't just address the mind. You can't just address the body, because it is a trauma that happens in your body that your mind is also processing. And so we kind of decided, what would it look like if the three of us put our heads together and our collective specialties to find a way to really serve the community. And initially, we were kind of just looking at stress, trauma in general, particularly how we are moving through the pandemic. And then as we continued to meet, we realized our shared passion is really in helping women, and in helping women, especially in this kind of super vulnerable postpartum period. And so that's how we came to create this program that we love so much.
Gosh, and that's such a testimony to what Lisa just said about community. It's because you were in community together that you could get to know each other, that you could end up sharing like really painful, traumatic experiences that you all had that are not easy to share. You had to become close for this to evolve.
Well, and I think that's the driver behind the program and the workshop that we put together, is that we realize what a vulnerable space it is for women in particular when you've gone through pregnancy and, depending on how it turns out. And everybody has their own individual experiences, but if you talk about them collectively, it opens up the conversation. It opens up sometimes hard conversations. And, Emma's incredible. She's an incredible therapist. And I know that she is, more comfortable sharing something traumatic, maybe more so than somebody who's not necessarily in her line of work. Same with me. I'm in a position where, yes, I train people in a physical sense, but there's also a lot emotionally that comes up and out, and Abby also. So we were already a little bit more comfortable than most in sharing, but we knew that there was a need to create something to allow other people to come together and go deep and get vulnerable and know that it's okay to share. It's okay to share when you're scared. It's okay to share when you need somebody to hear what is inside of you. And so that was sort of the driver behind this, is knowing that there was a need for it.
It's incredible alignment, and so important to break that isolation that we don't even know that we're in sometimes until we experience relief and go, oh my gosh, I was trying to deal with this by myself. Oh, no, it makes me almost want to cry to think about that isolation that we can be stuck in or feel stuck in during such transitions. So you did share a little bit about how you all met and what inspired you to start working together. Do you want to add more to that before we dive into postpartum and what the program looks like?
I think that's kind of the collective story. Just
okay. I do actually have a question. I was going to look it up. I didn't. But what's the difference between postpartum and postnatal? Like, postnatal was a new term to me, but that's in the name of your program, right? So allow me to please educate me.
I think it's interchangeable, isn't it?
It is. Oh. I actually looked it up because I always interchange it, and then I thought to myself, does it actually mean the same thing? It does mean the same thing.
Okay.
I don't know. You know, there's prenatal, there's postnatal, there's prenatal, there's postpartum. It all.
That makes sense. It makes me. I'm going to switch to postnatal.
You're actually making me question myself again.
Oh no, don't, because I think it's great. Like, we do call it prenatal. We don't call it
the fourth trimester.
We call it prenatal.
After birth. But I do have to say, our program, when we hosted our last workshop, we did have women who were pregnant, because I think that it is, I think it's really important to be armed with information in case you ever need it. I think it's better to be, more educated than not about maybe certain feelings that will arise after a baby arrives, or, I mean, in our case with our first, if, we lost, and it was suddenly all these emotions. Some were normal things that you would experience in, I'll say postpartum, in a postpartum experience, but they were also normal feelings of grief. And it was hard to kind of separate those two. And so now, with the understanding I have, I think that I would have had a completely different experience grieving and being a new mom, because I now understand that those feelings can feel very similar, and there's nothing wrong with you. You're going through something. But I think maybe this would be a good time to share. Emma and I had talked about some statistics and sort of the gap, why we created this. And Emma, do you want to share those?
Gap. That's my soapbox. Yeah. So this country absolutely fails postpartum mothers. Absolutely. Right. You go from getting a checkup with your doctor when you're pregnant, almost weekly towards the end, to post-delivery. You get one checkup 6 weeks later, and that's it. And you're done. Right. They're like, is your body somewhat put it back together? Great. Good luck with everything. There are staggeringly awful statistics around mental health in America for postpartum women, right? So mental health aside, 1 in 3 women will have a traumatic birth. Okay, so that's 1 in 3 we know are probably going to have some sort of PTSD post-birth. 1 in 6 will have some sort of severe mood disturbance. 1 in 10 men, so male partners, will have a mood disturbance. 1 in 4 women will lose a baby. So these are very common, right? Wow. Really, really common. We just have zero infrastructure in place, medically, psychologically, physiologically, to support parents in this transition. So, even if you do have, quote unquote, normative birth, right? There's no trauma. Maybe you're not experiencing any sort of mood disturbance. The female brain changes more during pregnancy than at any other time in their life, right? The chemical and the hormonal changes, and there's no support around that either. So we're kind of like, here's this big system change in every way. good luck. Oh, also go back to work in 10 weeks. It's clearly, this is something that I feel strongly about. And so, we're looking at the hard facts here. The data shows us there is an absolute need. And again, that's why we kind of came in with this program of what if we could create something that was kind of like a one-stop shop for women and their partners to just get a bunch of information in all these different categories of health.
Those statistics are staggering.
Yeah.
I'm still not over them. And honestly, for the listeners and viewers, can you repeat? Did you say 1 in 3 are births are traumatic in some way or another?
Correct. Yep. US also has the highest rate of maternal mortality in any first world country, right? I mean, we don't value women. That's kind of what the system communicates. And so, yeah, 1 in 3.
Particularly Black and brown women have even a higher rate of dying at birth, which is just criminal.
Yeah.
How we don't value it's so glaring when we when we stop and put a lens on it. It's just so glaringly obvious the lack of value of female life, and the darker skinned you are, apparently the less valued. It's just incredible. And did you say 1 out of 4 there's a mortality of a baby?
Sorry, pregnancy loss. So not necessarily post-delivery death, but pregnancy. Yeah, 1 in 4 pregnancy.
Okay.
Well, and I think you hear these statistics and you feel emotions about them that come up that make us angry and that make us feel helpless. And then that's where we got together and said, okay, we can either read this and know this and sit on it, or we can get together and create a program that, the hope is that we are able to do this in front of more people, and there's touched more lives, because I really, really, really do think that information is so powerful when you have it. And when you don't have it, you feel helpless, you feel hopeless.
Yeah.
And so looking at, and I mean, that goes for everybody, looking at something that makes you mad, that you feel like you don't have any control over, and then taking a step back and thinking, okay, I know I can't, change the world, but you can change your world. And so finding ways that you can impact your community in a positive, manner with the tools that you have. Again, that's where this program came from, because we were moms on a mission.
Yeah. Wow. I got to connect that to last week, that one of our guest speakers for our opening show and celebrating women's brilliance and women's nurturing response to challenges. One of our guests, Heidi Randall, when asked basically what kind of support, or give some encouraging words to women, she said, lead. Take leadership. And that's what you just described, Lisa. So tell me, what is, like, how long does the program last? How what does it involve? Do participants say I join your next 4th trimester class? What does that mean? Do I meet with one of you? Do I meet with one of you at a time? Like, what's the mental part? What's the physical part? And how do all 3 of you come into play?
Right now, I would say we're in more of a pilot program. We just have a workshop, and in that workshop, we cram so much information. And because it's Emma handles the mental and emotional side of it. I handle the physical side of it. Abby handles the physical therapy side of it, which is completely different.
Yeah.
And I mean, we get a group together and we give them all the information. And the goal for this program, and I think we've spoken about this before, would be to make it turn it into something that can live beyond our 2-hour workshop or a 3-hour workshop. We get it on video. We have it so that people can find it online instead of having to come to a physical location and listen to us. So I think the goal would be to create something that we can get into the hands of everybody who needs it. But right now we're just piloting it and realizing how important it is.
Yeah.
This is enormously important. And as you know, I'm in touch with not just women, also men, but some of my guests are from other countries also leading, and who I know would be very interested in this model. And I can't wait until it lasts like weeks. But and how great that you're piloting this now. And so what are some of the responses so far from people who've been able to attend your workshop?
It's been really normalizing, people, the postpartum period is not something anyone can kind of prepare you from, right? You could do like the nuts and bolts, but it's such a unique experience that until you're really in it, you don't have the full experience. And so a couple of people said to me, it felt like getting a lifeline thrown to me. I didn't know, I think especially with Abby with the pelvic floor PT, there was so much of, gosh, I just had no idea. I didn't know this was possible.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, no shade to OBs, but a lot of times people are like, yep, things are just not going to ever be okay again. And so Abby really speaks to the fact that, no, you can heal, here are some exercises you can do. So there's been a big piece of that. I do a lot of work with couples in my private practice. And so I got a lot of feedback, just the fact that it, to normalize how massive as a system change this is for a relationship, and to have tools on how to deal with that, to know that it's a season that will pass, just really helps. And then, of course, Lisa is actually, providing some tangible ways that people can move. And, Lisa, you can speak more to this, but one thing we care so much about is going against that narrative of get your body back. And so finding ways instead to re-inhabit this space, especially if there's been a trauma, that's something we really work on. How do we find a way to make you feel safe in your body again? And then how do you work to build strength in your body? And we close out the workshop with Lisa teaching about that, and then actually leading the participants in some activities.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the greatest lessons that changed me as a trainer was losing my son at birth, because I felt like I was in the fitness industry before and I thought I knew everything about everything. And I remember back then I thought a workout solved everything. And after the loss, I realized, I couldn't even get out of bed. And I remember thinking to myself, how dare I, as in me, I used to coach people, no, you can get up, you can come and work out, just come and work out and you'll feel better. And I quickly realized, no, a workout does not solve everything. The real challenge is being able to reconnect that mental health and the physical health, and feeling good as a whole person. Because yes, you can go and work out and still seriously feel sad and mad that, getting up and going for a run and you come back and you still feel terrible because something's not right with your mental health. And that's, I work on both now. But staying in the realm of my qualifications, because people come to me for, exercises and workouts, but I see them come in and they're having a terrible day and they leave and they're in such a better mood. And so I always try to reinforce and coach, stop for 1 minute and notice, how did you walk in here? And before you leave, I want you to do another little check-in with yourself and notice how much better you feel. And so it's now, a lot of it is about, with these new moms coming in and just feeling frazzled and they don't have any time, and maybe they have 20 minutes, they come in and they do something. And I just make sure that they notice how it makes them feel. Hopefully coaching them to do it more often because it's something they can do for themselves, is to move their bodies to feel better, not to look better, to feel better.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's just so powerful. Even if it's 1 minute, that attention that you give to them, to point out to them, to notice how they're feeling. Because we're such an interdependent species, not just women, but also men, that we really need each other to like reflect and reality check and basically help us think, help us clue into there's so much conditioning, in our culture to like stop feeling, don't feel, numb out, be tough, be stoic, be brave, much more that stuff, much more on men, but still women, we're supposed to be like tough. And like Emma said, okay, go back to work. You had 10 weeks, count your blessings. That we need so much reinforcement from any part of our community to just say, how you feeling, or notice how you're feeling. You don't even have to tell me, but I want you to touch in with how you are feeling, because the more we're in our body, the more we're, it just cultivates not only self-awareness, but self-care. And when I think about which is so like depleted and still too rare in our culture, when I think about the workshop that you described with the three of you doing each of your pieces, it just felt like embrace, like, wow, that just even going to a workshop with three of you devoting like care, compassion, nurturing, wisdom. You matter. We love you. We want you to feel your love for yourself. We want you to like put aside so many pressures and and remember you deserve joy. I mean, just even your little pilot I shouldn't call it little. I know it's a lot to do a pilot program, but even the pilot program sounds very embracing and healing.
And I should ask Emma, with our, we have these pilot programs, and it's true, we also as moms are pretty strapped for time, but I know that putting something together that is more of a, like a systematic program, that either it's lessons that people who sign up for it have to graduate from, because I also know even with 2 hours, you give all this information out, and then how much is actually retained without reminders.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we're in the professions we are, because people come to us on, weekly or bi-monthly basis, because we're constantly reminding them to take care of themselves. Here's tips and tools and tricks that you can take with you and do without us being there coaching you through it. And with a program like what we want to put together, it's how do we change the thinking? How do we empower the people who are going through the program to be able to take the information and put it in their toolbox and implement it afterwards? And so I think that's the goal, is for it to empower anyone who comes to the workshops, or when we have something that we can, give to the world, that it changes that it gives people like control back. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, that totally speaks to me as a NLP trained coach, because on average, but yes, we do need reinforcement, and we need to entrain ourselves, and it requires repetition and like repeat it, not just like repeating affirmations that someone else told you. No, it requires you getting in touch with your real thoughts. That's why I love coaching. I just ask questions. I don't tell anybody what to do. And they hear their own answers, and then we develop ways. And I'll just honestly, on average, one-on-one coaching, the clients who are happiest and still send thank you letters and thank me, they stick with it for 2 years. Because what they're doing is they're cultivating new neural pathways, and they learn within the first few weeks. Like what one of the first models is 6 weeks, and then 12 weeks, and then you can keep extending if you want to add modules. And it's just remarkable to see, because they're acknowledging themselves. They're dedicating love and time and commitment to their health, and they recognize how important they are and how much what you just said, Lisa, feeds them to really like take charge of your mind and give it what it needs, and not let not let all the conditioning stay, like keep repeating and keep repeating. That's why what I mean by like stepping out of, recognizing and stepping out of repeated stereotypes or instructions or notions that were put into our heads and reinforced all over the place, whether it's media or well-intended family who maybe not be in touch with what we might need sometimes.
Yeah, and we're such a positive pregnancy culture, right? We only want to talk about the great births, people who lost all the weight. There's no really space to be honest, let alone share a trauma or a stressor. And so to have space to normalize, like, this is to be anticipated in a way, not that it'll be terrible, but just that, yes, it's a new thing. It's a challenge. It's okay if you're having a hard time, and to be in community with other people who are going through it. It's almost like a big exhale, to go, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. I'm not just bad at this. This is just how it is. It's just a brand new space that we're all figuring out how to adjust to. And, I'll share, when we lost our baby, I didn't even know about the type of loss. So our daughter's heart just stopped. So my body didn't miscarry her. We just found out. I didn't even know that could happen. Right. And then I started talking about it, and so many people just kind of came out of the woodwork saying, me too, across generations. And I was so floored by how did I'm a therapist. How did I not know about this? Which again, just kind of speaks to the importance of, like, we need to gather, we need to share our stories, and we need to kind of empower women to know what is happening to them, right? To know they're not alone.
These should not be secrets. I mean, it really takes me back to like not that long ago when we were hung as witches, and burned at the stake for knowing how to make medicine out of plants that could actually help with swelling or inflammation or nerves or calm us down. I just feel like it's taking a couple of centuries and I'm just, and God knows what it's like because I'm not brown or black, the other additional traumas, how long it takes to like share the trauma and connect and know that you're not alone and be able to say it out loud without being punished.
Yeah,
And there's still kind of subtle punishments, not subtle everywhere, but and I also, Emma, you made me think of something, not to counter your point about we're such a pregnancy positive culture, like that's what we like to hear, but reminds me of how many, and I'm sure you both had the experience when you were pregnant. I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know, but so many people, when they found that I was pregnant, both times were, like 3 times, I actually had a miscarriage once, but, and that alone is so traumatic. That alone is so traumatizing. But anyway, women would come up to me and just right away wanted to tell me, because I was trying to think positive, especially after having a miscarriage. I was trying to think like, I'm going to think positive. I'm going to be hopeful. I'm going to believe this is going to work. I'm bringing in life. This is huge. But so many women would come up to me and say, oh my God, my pregnancy was terrible. Oh my God, what happened to me? And I would literally say, I'm so sorry. I actually, for my own health and well-being, I'm so sorry. Let me tell you who you can talk to about that, because clearly it's still affecting you. But I could not be their listeners at the time. I've been doing crisis counseling, coaching already, but I just knew I needed to have boundaries around that, because my stuff was my infrastructure, my mental wellness infrastructure was just tentative, and I had to keep reinforcing my own coaching, like it's going to work out. You can do this. I literally, I kind of felt bad, but I was also feel like you matter, and I'm so sorry that happened. And I would find resources for them, but I did not want to hear it because it would affect me so much. And
Yeah.
that's, like another testimony to how much we need your program, because you guys are there and you're ready to hear it. And you're
Well, and what I'm hearing you say too is you were a coach before that, so you had those tools to set boundaries. And I think that there's a lot of women and men who are dealing with, pregnancy along with their partners if they're there, but they don't know how to set boundaries. They don't know how to talk about it. And then they don't know how to set boundaries and be able to step away from a conversation if it is making them feel worse. And I think that's all learned. And that's, what we learn as coaches. It's what now we pass on to people. Sometimes I don't even know they need it, but I think that all of us collectively can, understand just by being with somebody where they are at this point. And that just comes from sharing our stories, because I know every single time I share a story that has gotten easier to share, I connect with somebody on it. And I don't connect with somebody on, oh, how's your day? What coffee do you want? It's more of this like instant, deeper connection that just feels so different. And it feels like, wait a second, I just found somebody who is either in my boat or understands this boat. And because of that, I suddenly feel a little bit more seen, and they feel a little bit more seen, and we got each other's backs. And so it's just that positive feeling that comes from making a connection on a rather difficult topiip that, can be anything postpartum. I did look up postpartum and postnatal again while we were on the show. It's interchangeable. Interchangeable.
You got it.
For anybody listening.
Yeah, I'm going to start using postnatal. I like that better. It
Yeah,
matches prenatal,
I mean-
postnatal. But thanks.
Postnatal, you sound very-
Yeah. I'm sorry, Emma. What did you say?
Oh, I just said it's very medical. You sound like very legit postnatal.
Lisa,
I
you're
did
so
see
good.
that postnatal can sometimes be referring to the baby. Postnatal is, and postpartum is the mom, but postpartum feelings have to do with the baby, and postnatal feelings about the baby have to do with postpartum and the mom. That's why it's interchangeable.
Yeah. Well, this is a great segue, because this 4th trimester workshop, it's for the health of the baby too, right? So what do we know? When the mother is taken care of and well, she can take care of her child. There's heartbreaking studies around the neonatal and infancy period around attachment wounds. What happens if a mother is severely depressed or anxious? The baby literally takes it on, right? So our nervous system dysregulates as a baby. And so if we can meet moms where they're at, right, it's almost like this intervention work, so that we're helping babies actually develop in a much stronger, more supportive family unit, helping the mothers feel connected. It's just, it's so important, to kind of catch it so it doesn't become some sort of intergenerational trauma that's passed along too.
That's
so important.
true.
I love that you just brought that up.
Yeah,
So
totally.
important.
Yeah.
Underscore. It's like parallel process.
Yeah.
I think with this program too, you can work with each of us individually, but I think that collectively and that's why it's a lot of information, but it's also knowing how much time it takes to, see different practitioners, and sometimes expense, but it's one of those things that if you need the information, we want to help empower you with the information. And so we're all collectively coming together instead of someone having to individually go and seek us out and find us.
Yeah. And, I think the dream is for there to be some sort of network of practitioners who either are all in the same building or all can really work together. Because, another way Lisa and Abby and I really got connected is we would just be referring people, like, hey, I've got this client. They're having pelvic floor pain, birth trauma. I'm working with the trauma. I need you to work with the pelvic floor pain, but there's a wait list for months. And, it's just this kind of endless back and forth. And so if there's a way, whether it's workshops or, dream business of kind of holistic healthcare, that we can make these tools and this information more accessible, that's really the goal. And frankly, it should exist, right? And in this kind of first world country, the fact that basic healthcare, mental health care is so inaccessible to most people is absolutely outrageous. And I think, for us, there's this fire to want to address that in the best way that we can.
Well, that's the second time I've thought of a question. I was going to ask Emma, but either one of you can answer. Are there models from other countries that you're familiar with, Emma, that because a couple times you said in this country we just fail, we really sadly fail pregnancy and also in partners too. And I think I love also that you include partners, because what a huge difference if your partner is also informed and empowered by information and knowledge, and then knows not to be mad at you if you are depressed, for example. So are there good models? I mean, we hear a lot about, Scandinavian countries, but
Yes,
do you know good models for?
That is a good model. Yeah. I mean, if you look at any country in Europe, right, and the kind of paternal leave they have, the maternal leave, it's staggeringly high. I was in the UK this summer with my family, and I was chatting with this other mom, and she was like, "Yeah, we just get 9 months, just 9 months, right?" Hearing that, just 9 months. That's on the lower end, right?
Wow.
The UK. You look at France, the government actually pays for physical therapy. So in France, it's kind of expected that you will go to weekly PT. That's just what's normal, right? Mental health care is kind of the same thing. The UK is a little bit more similar to the States, but in other countries, it's not so inaccessible, right? I think in America, unfortunately, it's private pay most of the time, or it's insurance, which means that there's always a wait. And so to kind of have a middle ground where, if there is little plug for universal healthcare here, but right, if that's a norm, then something like mental health care isn't just for the 1% who can actually afford it. So, no country is perfect, but there are all these very clear examples that you can look at, in first world countries in Europe that really show the difference and the kind of long-term mental health benefits from this type of care.
Which will benefit everyone.
Everybody.
The entire family unit, and the cousins, the grandparents, and then onward future generations.
That's
for
right.
healthy. Who doesn't want more mental health in their community, in their country?
Totally.
So I know I had a question for y'all. You really have answered it, but I want to. I know you both have a tremendous desire, and Abby, to make this accessible. I mean, that's part of your passion and fire, and you're talking about, videos which would be accessible all over the world. And I'm assuming people could, connect with you as your pilot project develops. But I would love to hear more about anything more about how you plan on developing, what you see as the future, and how any listener or viewer could possibly support the development of this program and take the model other places.
Yeah. Well, we have the content and the people. We just need to find the time to film our video.
Okay.
We all have 2+ kiddos and jobs. So it's hysterically hard to just get a coffee date in. But, as far as next steps, that's really the plan. it's just going to take a weekend to film it. And luckily my husband is good at things like this, so we're going to rope him in. But, I think the hope is to have it online as a kind of viable program for people to just have. And we're hoping to kind of continue to do it. Ideally it would be quarterly in the community in Davis, Sacramento area. And, if it's something that is successful, the hope is that we can kind of train other practitioners to do something like this. It could spread, if people kind of catch on to it. And then the other thing I want to mention too, just in terms of accessibility, is we want it to be affordable. So if cost is an option, it's, something that is a barrier, that's not a problem for us. We want to make sure, like, if you can pay $5, great. We want you there. That's really important.
That's really beautiful. That's so necessary and compassionate. And I thank you guys for adding the affordability piece to it. I see that we have just a little less than 5 minutes. So I want to give you each a chance to think of like any kind of closing thoughts or anything that you want to add that we haven't touched on yet.
I have to say, I'm really grateful to have connected with Emma and Abby, because I think Abby, I think you are amazing women, and you are so passionate and also educated in what I'm also passionate in. But I love that we each come at it from a different angle. And so it's just being able to expand our reach, because I know how important it is. And it's just like, you're sitting in this corner and you have so much to offer that will help so many people. And so, yes, carving out the time and getting it filmed and out there. And I think that also the opportunity to speak in front of different groups is, really something that we can do more of quarterly. And it's also finding the groups, whether we're reaching out to them, or if anybody listening is interested in this presentation, we'd be happy to get together and do it, because it's finding the right audience. And it's true, we have content, we have each other, and we're just, but it's kind of like, we don't quite have the time, but we can make the time.
You will. We'll support you in that. Emma, your closing thought?
Yeah, I just echo all of that. I'm so grateful to have met Lisa and Abby. And I think it's just such an important reminder of like what you can do, when you come together with other people who have shared passions. So I would say, like, if you have an idea or a passion and somebody whose work intrigues you, get together with them. I think we're coming out of the pandemic still, and that was one hell of a trauma, to say the least, for everybody. So, I think kind of reinvigorating the ability to connect, to be in community, to learn from one another. Like, we need it more than ever, especially if it's in service, right, of a certain group or population. It goes a long way.
Collaborate in your professions, collaborate with your stories. I think that's the key, is collaborating with each other. Very good point.
Oh my gosh. Can you each of you quickly say a way people can, if they want you to come speak, can you just name how do you want them to contact you? And then I got to wrap up.
That's a great question. Emma?
Yeah. You can send me an email at emma@esacounseling.com. And if you just kind of put in the info, fourth trimester workshop, I will make sure to tag in Abby and Lisa for that.
Great.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome. This has been so great. Thank you for having us on.
Thank you so much for this huge education and enormous nurturing program that the world needs so badly. I appreciate your time so much. And thank you, DJ, for being our engineer, and our producer, Dean, and all the listeners and viewers for being here again. And be sure to tune in next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY.com or Talk4 TV. May we all have enriching conversations in diversity this week. Thank you again.
Inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech